Hi, Eight of Cups family. Welcome to your May readings. A quick reminder, guys, that this intro will be in the beginning of each and every video. If you're not interested in watching it over and over again, I do provide timestamps within the description box and the first comment of each reading. So if you've listened to this before, you can kind of skip past it and move on to your cards for that sign. The intro is a little bit about the astrology of the month, and it's really charged in May. That's kind of the word that I want to use, is charged. I think we're all really charged up. We're all ready for this change. Now, I've said it in a few of my videos. I don't mean to repeat myself, but it is true. We're in a 5-year and May is a 5-month. So there's a promise right there that there will be changes occurring. As well, with this new moon that moves into Taurus around May 11th, there's a significant shift because we move officially into eclipse season. Guys, I know most of us are seeing the signs. We're seeing the things. We're seeing the changes. We're seeing that things don't fit us anymore, or things that do seem to fit us better. And then there's like that whole hesitation thing. And the month of May actually does hold a lot of consequences. The decisions that you make now, the things that you choose, where you are kind of pushed, and how you react all play a really large role in your future self. So it's kind of important to take these transits pretty seriously. Now, we also have a lot of shifts in energy this month. We're moving from, the wonderful Venus placement in Taurus, where we got, I feel like, a few weeks to kind of enjoy our surroundings, enjoy the things that we have. We got to tap into a more sensual side. I think some of us were probably maybe like, I call it romanticizing our homes, enjoying our family a little bit, maybe getting into new routines, embracing the new weather, and making plans for the future, because Taurus season really is all about the making of the plans. How do we want the future to look? It also played a big emphasis on our values, of course. Things are playing out around us, and it's making us question, do we still believe in the things we believe in? Do we still want the things that we wanted? And as everything starts to make this transition into Gemini, first Mercury and then Venus, and then the Sun will all follow into a conglomeration of planets that are joining this North Node. It's pretty important to understand that May will be pretty revealing. It'll be revealing as to where we're going and what fits us. And there's a need to embrace the new, which means there's a need for the courage to let some things go. South Node, Sag. We're in eclipse season, guys. These nodes are super important. It's really important to know where they're falling in your chart, what areas of your life are being heavily affected by them. And probably the biggest news of the month is, and albeit a month full of eclipses, is the taste of Jupiter moving into Pisces. This is much different than Jupiter's energy in Aquarius. Jupiter tends to expand the energy. It makes it bigger, stronger. Jupiter moving into Pisces is going to have a very different feel. And what happens is Jupiter slips into Pisces just long enough for it to make a square over to that Mercury and Venus. And it starts to tell a story about what 2022 is going to be about. So you want to be really vigilant around the middle of the month. Start looking at the way that things are unfolding. There's a lot of emphasis of this Gemini placement. Now, about a year ago, we had Venus in Gemini go through a pretty serious retrograde period last May and June. We've been here before. We've been looking at these stories for a while, okay? This is not about like the new shocking things popping up. They will, of course. We have Uranus making a square to Saturn, but the ultimate issues are clear to you. You know, and I think a lot of it has to do with our ability to embrace the change, our ability to get curious, to start paying attention to our surroundings. Gemini does have a lot to do with our environments. Gemini rules the third house, and it's all about that creativity. And when you think of creativity and you pair it up with the intellectual, the intelligence of Gemini, you can make a lot of really wonderful things happen. Now, I always say, when I look at the fifth house really truly belongs to like creativity and joy, but it also can make you lazy. Jupiter in Pisces can also make you a little lazy. But all that third house energy gives you the new ideas, the new things that we're creating, the new directions that we're going in. And it's about exploring them. It's about opening up to the curiosity. It's about communicating, of course, having those conversations, expressing ourselves. And guys, as Saturn begins to move into this formation of the second square with Uranus, it's really important to stay true to ourselves and our authenticity. Saturn in Aquarius is going to make you separate yourself from like the group think. And that's super important right now, because part of what needs to change has been over the years of us kind of doing what society, what other people, what other structures in our life expected from us. And now the 2020 happened, 2021 rolls in, and we're like, well, why are we even doing it like this in the first place? You know, one of my favorite examples of this is kind of what happened when we all started to work from home. Like, there was almost a death of the 9 to 5. Of course, it's got its downfalls and it has its bonuses. We could work whenever we want, but we could also maybe always be working. We have to invite the new in, and we have to tweak it. And what this retrograde season is all about is the tweaking. Now, we have Mercury that's going to sit in Gemini for an extremely long amount of time. It's even retrograde longer than it typically is. So you can kind of look at this time, and it won't actually be retrograde until the very end of May. Mercury enters its shadow zone around May 15th. Close to the same time as a new moon in Taurus. We're starting to get things rolling. We're entering our shadow phase. And I just want to tell everybody it's okay to make the changes. It's okay to proceed, because Mercury is going to give you a chance to perfect it, to make the adjustments. It's not like about the big commitments. It's about just trying it. It's about being brave enough to just explore the possibilities. Now, we already had Pluto go retrograde, so there's definitely internal work as far as our power dynamics. Where do we give our power away? This is a time in which we take it back. In other words, if there are people in your life that manipulate you or tend to make you feel like you have to stay in this box, we're definitely in the process of growing out of the box. And Saturn is also going to station retrograde, and when Saturn stations retrograde, it does become a lot about the karmic cycles. There's things that are ending. There's old storylines in our lives that just simply don't fit us anymore. Those bad relationships, the unfulfilling jobs, the friendships just out of, social niceties. And those things are going to get phased out, and we have to be brave enough to embrace that. And by that, I mean it's going to take a lot of self-love. Moving into Cancer season soon. It's right around the corner. And the next several months, like I said, are an extremely karmic period. The summer is an extremely karmic period. It's about the movement. It's about the processes, and it's about getting things started, guys. So really important to kind of tap in to the things that you truly want, okay? It's also really important to break out of habits of stagnation and what's keeping you small. So again, those relationships, those jobs, whatever it is where you feel like you have to kind of dim your light or you can't express yourself. And we're seeing this all the time on social media, right? Like, It's no lie that with Saturn retrograde in Aquarius, we're going to start to see the consequences of what happens when you deny our freedom of speech in a way, okay? There's consequences involved. Where are you denying yourself from speaking up, from standing up for yourself when you see that something's not right or something doesn't make sense or it's not in your authenticity or integrity? I think the next couple of months is like this opportunity to be like, you know what, this is just not for me. And it's not about you and it's not about us. And we're not going to take these things personally. We're just going to proceed in another area where it's more welcoming, where we could have a stronger purpose. All of this is because of our drive for the purpose. Our world is changing. Everything around us is changing. Our priorities, our structures are changing. And so we have to start to realize what really matters to us and what are the things that we can release. You know, if you're miserable in a job, it may be the time in which, regardless of financial status or burdens, it may be time to take the risk. Relationships as well. If you're staying in relationships as a means of security or as a way to not be alone, you could probably expect those ideas to kind of dissolve right in front of you. And when we have Jupiter moving into Pisces, it is really all about the surrendering. It is really all about the dissolving. And in order to fully embrace it, you have to have faith. You have to have faith in the universe that we're all moving in the direction that is right for us. And it doesn't mean that other people are wrong. It just means that this is what's right for you. And of course, when we take that kind of attitude on, there's a lot of people in our lives that can resist this because they need us to be this certain way. And so this is where the friction of the Saturn-Uranus square comes in. And it's about, like, what are you accountable for and who are you accountable to and what really matters. So a lot of self-inspection, reflection that's been going on over the past several months, that kind of comes to the surface now. It starts to like really take place in the material realm. There is no doubt that people will start to make the big moves, make the job change, move environments, change your houses, change your states that you're living in, change your political associations. It's all about the changing to reflect who we are now. And if it doesn't come from an authentic place of integrity, you can expect a lot more bumps in the road. But if you're going towards something that is reflective of your greater purpose and your destiny, you will find it to be the path of least resistance. So pay attention, guys. I hope you enjoy your cards, and I do hope that you all have a wonderful, wonderful month, and I'll be back soon. Take care, guys. Bye. Hello, Taurus. Welcome to Eight of Cups Tarot, and welcome to your cards for May, and happy birthday to you. I do hope that you have a wonderful birthday. I hope you celebrate twice as much this year to make up for kind of the dull and loneliness of 2020. I am taking a look at your cards, and I'm looking at May, and honestly, I've been kind of really looking at this astrology for a couple of weeks now, really studying like the flavor of May. And it's funny because a few months ago, and even like a year ago, when I was kind of looking ahead, I kind of had this idea about May. I kind of thought that it was going to be somewhat horrendous. And I don't say that to scare anybody, but really there's some real serious transits. And May can really change the landscape of 2020 for each and every one of us altogether. No doubt about it. But there's some surprises that I feel are in store, and I also feel intuitively like some of the heaviness is really starting to lift. Now, it's not because of any effort or circumstances on our part. I believe that some of this is divine intervention. I think that some of this has to do with like the heavy work, the heavy emotional shedding that we've been forced to do for an extenuate amount of time. And I'm kind of looking at this retrograde season. Like, guys, really big things happen in May, okay? I don't want to make light of anything. We've got this new moon coming around the 11th of the month, and it kind of sets off eclipse season. Eclipse season at the same time that we're kind of experiencing the year of a Saturn-Uranus square is obviously going to be a little tumultuous. It's going to be rough. It's going to be life-altering. We also have Jupiter making an appearance, kind of giving you a hint or a taste of what's going to happen in most of 2022 as it resides in Pisces. It moves into Pisces again around the middle of May, and it stays there until it goes retrograde, moves back into Aquarius, and then moves back into Pisces in December. Big things happening in December as well. So we've got all of this big energy stuff going on, and I want to talk about your energy this month, which is coming up as the Queen of Cups. Now, I love this energy because it talks about compassion. And Taurus, I have to tell you, being a fixed sign, hosting the planet of Uranus, this Queen of Cups energy may not be familiar to you, okay? I think Taurus is usually very careful, very controlled, very grounded. And this month, there seems to be a large emotional kind of overtone. Now, I like how this woman is kind of like given a little bit of the stink eye to this fish here in this bowl. And I think there is an element here of changing your perspective. And I say that because your environment is that of the world. I think that this card, now the world isn't always, the best card because it talks about endings. It's the last card of the major arcana. It's symbolizing that you are bringing something clearly to a close. Now, this is probably one of the most beautiful depictions of the world card that I have seen. And I love how there's kind of this earthly, worldly globe. There's animals and wildlife, and there's abundance surrounding it. And there's kind of all these different archetypes of the transformation and the control and the strength and the beauty and the grace. And then we have this elder woman, and it feels as though, like, that saying, kind of looking at something with a new set of eyes. And I feel like both of these women are looking at something with a new set of eyes. This one is looking very skeptical, Queen of Cups, probably because it is the energy of Cancer, and therefore it's protective, And we start off the month while we're still kind of in the realm of Scorpio and Pisces, a Scorpio full moon that just happened. And that could be an element of being a little bit skeptical, being self-protective. The Queen of Cups is very loving. She's very compassionate, but she's also very protective. So if you're in an environment in which you're not feeling safe or grounded, this may be your tone. You may not be as trusting. You may not be as ready to just give in to other people's stuff. And here we have this beautiful woman. And I love the emphasis on her hands. I love how they are rested on her lap, like she's in some realm of satisfaction. Because I think we're looking at the world with, yes, a new set of eyes, but the eyes seem to reflect that of maturity and wisdom. Now, oftentimes the World card does symbolize second chances or getting the opportunity to do something over. And of course, we've got this beautiful Queen of Cups and the World card, which means that maybe there is something that initially you weren't trusting, you weren't believing in, you weren't willing to invest in quite as much. And it talks about really being emotionally there. Now, normally my Queen of Cups is very compassionate and emotional and open and like the epitome of unconditional love. But she's a reminder of the importance of self-love, okay? And for the first couple of weeks in May, we have all of this energy still built up in Gemini. Like, no joke, we have Mercury moving into Gemini, and he will stay there until mid-July. We have Venus moving into Gemini, and towards the middle to end of the month, we have, of course, the Sun and a major solar eclipse in Gemini. It's a lot of second house stuff. And then we have a lunar eclipse at the very end of the month in Sag. So this is second, 8th house, and it's all about values. And remember, I told you, and I think I've told every sign for the past several months, that now is when we start changing our values, changing our priorities. The things that were really important to us a few years ago probably don't fit us anymore. You know, the way that we look, the things that we wanted, what was so important, are probably very different now. Maybe for a lot of us, everything was, securing our finances, or having enough money, or meeting material goals. Some of us just wanted to, get married or have the babies, or maybe there was a list of vacations, kind of tending to that bucket list. And then 2020 happens and everything sort of changes. And when you change and your mind changes and your heart changes, then clearly the outside world has to match. Everything is kind of coming up to meet you as to who you are and what you are now. And you know that saying, like, April showers brings May flowers, or May comes in like a lion, or was it April or March, one of these months that kind of comes in like a lion and goes out like a lamb. And I kind of get the idea that you're starting May like a lion and kind of coming out like a lamb. There's something that softens you. Now here we are again, a repeat of the card. Your first card out is the World card, and it's next to the 7 of Swords. Now I always say the 7 of Swords is like our self-sabotage. Now it can come in a lot of forms. Sometimes people could see the 7 of Swords and they could point out like the real obvious stuff, like somebody is lying to you, somebody's stealing from you, somebody's taking your energy, your time, your money. But all in all, it's all the same. Whether it's you or somebody else, that somebody else is probably just a symptom, right? Like when we're not feeling really good about ourselves, or we're looking for external things in our life to fill voids or make us feel better, then we tend to get ourselves in these 7 of Swords kind of situations. It's like the person that wants to really be in love, and so they pick the very next person and they kind of sell themselves short. The person that doesn't really care what the next job is as long as it pays their bills will probably learn some sort of a lesson about being a little bit more choosy, like explaining to the universe a little bit clearer of what your expectations are. I see the World card and I see the Seven of Swords, and then there's the Chariot. Now that's Cancer energy, which is your third house. And I think the third house, which is the house of Gemini, you know, like Gemini rules the third house. It rules communication. It rules short distance travel. And we have this card of the Chariot. There's clearly a man in the driver's seat. It looks as though he is getting ready to travel or make a trip, and I kind of get the feeling that there's a change in the destination. And I do have to say that because we have the World card here, and we have the World card here, and then we have this card down here, Unfinished Symphony, that maybe there is something that you thought was ending, something you thought was over, that's coming back for review. Now, no surprise, we're just entering retrograde season. You know, Pluto just went retrograde in your 9th house, which made you, you know, really take a look at your ability to expand your horizons, right? And as it's gone retrograde right away, as soon as Taurus season starts, this first week of May, we kind of have this trine between Mercury and Pluto, and then between Venus and Pluto, all before they start to move into your second house in Gemini. And this is pretty powerful because it forces you to be honest with yourself. It forces you to be honest about all of the situations. And remember, we're going to start looking at things from a wiser or more mature set of eyes. And I think this World card is exactly what you need to remedy this Seven of Swords kind of self-sabotage. You know, this is like thinking that you missed an opportunity. Maybe there is a relationship or something that came to an end and you thought, well, you don't have a prayer to get that back, or, you know, lesson learned, whatever, let's move on. And I see this World card, and then I'm kind of really drawn to this Five of Pentacles. And I think that this is something that's really deep within you. And I think this is something that starts to come to the surface, probably around this new moon. This new moon that comes in around the 11th of May, also making this trine to Pluto, is so substantial. It's such a beautiful energy. Because although we may have gotten where we had to get down to the bare minimum, like bare essentials, like the bones of the matter. I don't know why I'm like all focused on like this whole idea of like the skeleton, like once you remove all of the excess and the fat and, you know, the adornings and the decoration, you know, and you just get to the bare minimum of life. Like, what are the things that you need to survive? This Five of Pentacles, you know, it does suggest that there has been some time or some experiences in which you have felt alone, abandoned, probably a little bit incapable. And the thing that I think of most when I see the Five of Pentacles is a feeling of hopelessness and despair. And I think that there is a very, very karmic relationship here between this Five of Pentacles and this Seven of Swords. And all this energy starts to move into your second house, and you start to really question like your values. What are you worth? What do you want in life? And what is the idea? You know, second house, eighth house stuff oftentimes talks about like our integrity. And I get the idea that we're looking at, you know, integrity. And because we're coming out in this energy of the Queen of Cups, and I think you're kind of emerging from this Queen of Cups, because underneath we have this Queen of Cups, and then we have a time to give rather than take, a new moon in Virgo. And then I'm drawn over here, like this card is so beautiful and green, and then I'm drawn to this beautiful green card over here, card number 57, Unmarked Trail, Revelation. Now this also breaks down to a 3, and it's also, you know, kind of that green heart chakra. And although it's a 3 and it's tied to creativity and our self-expression, and there seems to be something very tied to the fact that we cannot open our hearts to others. Like, we can't figure out how this whole thing really works until we figure out who we are. And we have to actually really start to love ourselves. And then I'm looking at these pentacles here, and I'm looking at this get grounded, empaths, highly sensitive, connect with nature. Well, clearly the Queen of Cups is the epitome of an empath, right? And it's great. It's great to be able to feel all this stuff. It's great to be in this emotional state where we can really understand. Our heart can open. We can allow ourselves to feel. And maybe there's been something that we've been kind of blocking away. Like, I'm staring at this Two of Swords here, and clearly she's blindfolded, kind of refusing to look at something. And I'm looking at this Page of Wands. It's kind of looking in a different direction as well. And then right here in the middle, we have the Emperor. And he's kind of in the same mode as this Chariot, like looking straight ahead. And I think in order to really get an idea of where you're going, you're going to have to really feel some things this month. And of course, eclipse season, 2nd house, 8th house stuff is going to make you feel things. And it may be a lot more emotional than you're even prepared for. It might be a deep dive. Now, I could tell you that there's an energy of, yes, maybe there's an ex that's coming back. Of course, we're entering retrograde season, which means it's a time to kind of reassess the things that have happened in the past. The ghosts of the past come back, blah, blah, blah. The exes, the old job opportunities. Maybe there was a travel thing that you were going to do before the pandemic hit, and now you have the opportunity to do that again. The question is, do you want to? Because right here in the center of the reading, we have this 3 of Pentacles, and the 3 of Pentacles is ripe with potential and possibility. So we have this 3 of Pentacles, and we have this Emperor, and they're both talking about your power, your empowerment, your ambition, your drive, your leadership. And this 3 of Pentacles is about all of the things, all of the pieces of the puzzle kind of coming together. 3 of Pentacles is kind of like meeting the right people, meeting, the right job offer, having a friend who introduces you to another friend who knows about this job or this connection or this travel opportunity or whatever it is. And the thing is, I don't think that you realize that new foundations are being laid. Taurus, it's going to be really easy to resist the changes, right? And this is what I'm saying to all my fixed signs, and especially to you, because you, of all of the signs, have very little chance of getting out of this unscathed. Nobody is leaving 2021 the same, okay? Especially my fixed signs. The cardinal signs really started to take action last year. Now, whether the things are really showing up, they probably already made some moves. Mutable signs, things are going to start moving now. Big decisions, new connections are coming in. But my fixed signs, some of you, not all of you, but some of you are probably going to want to stay stuck. Taurus is kind of the why change what, why fix what isn't broke? Why do we have to do all of this changing? Wasn't everything fine the way that it was? It may not have been perfect, but at least we kind of knew. We knew what was going to come every day. We knew, the fundamental things. But I think regardless of your cooperation, the universe is going to kind of shove this at you. It's going to kind of introduce you to these opportunities, and your willingness to let this go. Look, it may not be the relationships that need to officially come to an end. It may not be the living circumstances or the jobs that have to end necessarily. What does need to end is the mindset, the 5 of Pentacles, you know, the fear of abandonment, the fear of unworthiness, the fear of not being supported. When I see this 5 of Pentacles and I see this in the middle of the reading, I think the biggest point of this month is realizing, even when it didn't seem like it, you had support. Father, the Son, the Holy Ghost, the divine coming in, like whatever it is. Maybe there's friends, maybe there's co-workers, maybe this is like a marriage therapist, somebody that comes in, like there's 2 people that are kind of limping here, right? Like kind of limping just to make it through. And then this card right here in the center is 3 people that are clearly thriving, planning for the future. And talk about future, we have this Chariot, and then we have this 4 of Wands. And maybe for some of you, it isn't like an ex coming back. Maybe it's just getting the clarity and closure so that you can move on, so that you could start to see that, like, the sun is going to rise again. New relationships will come in. New job opportunities will come in. Bottom of the deck is the 8 of Wands. There's certainly things coming in. And the best thing that you can do for yourself this month right here is get grounded. It's going to be super emotional. You're going to need the tools. 3 of Pentacles is the tools. Listen, if you really get yourself into like that emotional place, and when I tell you that we have a lunar eclipse in your 8th house square Jupiter, just before Jupiter, or during or while Jupiter is kind of making this move into Pisces, if you think about it, if you track kind of the Pisces story for the past couple of years, right? Your 11th house, there's been so much going on. Like last Memorial Day, like around the time of everything that happened here in the United States with George Floyd, we had Mars in Pisces for an extensive amount of time. Before that, we had some retrogrades going through in Pisces that were pretty emotional and hard. This is not a new area of your chart. If you look back to last summer, you know, and it's been playing out all this year as it's been making the square to the nodes in Gemini. So 2nd house, 11th house stuff is all about your ability to have faith and believe. And I know that some people think that that comes from like a head in the clouds kind of space, like your whole world could be crumbling in front of you. I'm not saying it will be. It's just for an example. I don't want to scare anybody, but the whole world is crumbling, you know, those people, and they're just like, oh, it's okay. I could just meditate. Everything's going to be fine. And you're like, oh God, I don't even know how you survive, right? Listen, I'm very earthy, Capricorn Virgo here. Like it pays to be practical. But sometimes we have to strike a balance. Because what happens is if we don't allow ourselves to feel, we get stuck in this 2 of Swords. We don't know where to go. It just feels like we don't know what path we want. We've got the moon here, which means we're, you know, when we're in the state of 2 of Swords and we've got our hands across our heart in this protective state, oftentimes we give our power away. And we want to be the emperor. We don't want to give our power away. You know, Queen of Cups, the Chariot, the Emperor, these are very powerful individuals. These are all pieces of you. This is your ability to see the future and move towards it with confidence. And then the 7 of Swords and this 2 of Swords, this Page of Swords. It's like all the ways that we tell ourselves that this just couldn't work, it would never work. And there's a couple things that I want you to do this month off the bat. I want you to take the word never out of your vocabulary. Like the thing is, Taurus, nothing is impossible. And the other thing I want you to do is, see, we've got this new moon in Virgo, and we've got this get grounded, connect with nature. And in order to not get really swollen up in, like swallowed in the emotion, overwhelmed, and even if your life isn't like so messy, if you are empathic, you're going to start to get other people's mess, right? You're going to start to feel other people's energy. And you got to protect yourself against that. And like I said, the greatest way to always counteract that, and I always say that with especially the Pisces Virgo axis, is to get grateful. Because the Queen of Cups, at times, especially in a Seven of Swords kind of energy, can start to look at life and be like, yeah, I was a victim. Victim mentality. I would have so much more if this person didn't do that, or if, you know, I didn't waste all of those years on that one thing that didn't work out to begin with. But the truth is, it did work out. It was exactly how it was supposed to be, because look at how far you've come. Look how much wisdom. Look at the tools that you have in your hand. Those tools are hard earned through experience, through the losses, through the disappointments. And what you can do in order to really align with the things that you want is to open your heart. And the greatest and easiest way to open your heart is to do something for others. Guys, I can never explain it enough, the power of gratitude. And it's not just our gratitude, but the power that comes to you when other people are grateful for you. And there's no doubt that Taurus has a lot to offer here. Maybe it's just listening to somebody's point of view, hearing somebody out, extending an apology, offering that closure. Maybe it is getting back together, swallowing the pride and deciding to work on something for the greater good of all. And I get the sense that this is all about the greater good of all. I do get the sense that other people are involved. And the truth is, you want to move towards stability and happiness. And I like this card particularly. It stuck out to me because I love the balance here, right? And the idea that things have to contract before they expand, right? We have to let some things go. We have to, dwindle down on the anger, the resentment, and then we build up from there. And you guys might be kind of in this contraction place. Unmarked trail, the revelation. When it is quiet, when you are grounded, when you are in a state of gratitude, the revelations come in. The opportunities come back. Unfinished Symphony, card number 10. Again, very closely related to the World card. So that's 3 World cards. There's no doubt that there's a very important cycle or phase that's coming to an end for you, Taurus. And of course, Uranus is not going to let you get through 2021 without starting to feel some freedom. And I think for some of you, the freedom is internal. I think for some of you, it's the freedom from resentment, the freedom from feeling like a victim, from feeling like the fear of abandonment. And you might come into the month with all of those feelings, and you may leave the month in a lot stronger, determined energy. Again, with the wisdom, I mean, there's just so much growth here, Taurus. It's like you're really starting to understand how this whole universe thing works. You're really starting to understand where and how to make these decisions. See, the Page of Swords here, the Page of Swords here is much lighter. It's free flowing, but be careful because it's also very sharp. And so I want to tell you all to be very careful with your communication this month. Very careful with not just the things that you say, but even the things that you think. The way that you see yourself, the way that you look at yourself. You know, maybe the resentment is self-inflicted. Maybe really getting down on yourself because you made some bad decisions or some bad investments, or you wasted some time on people that, you know, didn't have your greatest good. And if you come from a place of hurt and resentment and fear, because Pluto, this trine of Pluto, can really exasperate that fear, which puts you in survival mode, which puts you in self-protection mode. Certainly not places where your heart is open. Now, what you can do is every time that you start to slip into that, start to think those thoughts. Oh, well, maybe if I was prettier, maybe if I had more money, or maybe if I didn't live in the city, or maybe if I didn't, you know, pick this career or this degree, whatever it is, all those ways that you blame yourself in your head. If you could find a way to be grateful for those things instead of resentful for them, you will move so much faster into the second chance. And I often feel like the universe isn't going to give us that second chance to make our life perfect. That second chance to get that thing that we know that we always wanted. Why would the universe give it to us if we're not going to be grateful for it? I think the things that we really want and desire in this lifetime aren't really things to desire. You know, like you could want a new car, you could want a new job. And of course, you could want a new partner, sure. Second house, eighth house, it's not about like that partner. It's about that feeling. It's about the feeling that you get when you think about what it's like to wake up next to your best friend every day. What it's like to feel safe. What it's like to feel supported. What it's like to have, you know, real quality friendships. What it's like to be recognized for your talents. And the Chariot and the Four of Wands means that as soon as you start to really understand that emotional place, like the deep down bottom that you want, not the things, but the emotion that you want to experience, the doors start to open. All right, Taurus, beautiful reading. I knew these May readings were going to really be something. Yeah, I'm going to really feel each and every one of them. Thank you so much for allowing me to do this. Thank you for coming to my channel. I really appreciate it. If you don't mind, hit the like button. It helps to get the video out to more people. And as well, feel free to share, subscribe, and of course, always comment. When you leave comments, I start to hone in on your energy. And therefore, these readings will come up a little bit more, they'll resonate a little bit more for you each time. That's no joke. It's happened every single time as soon as I start. And even some of you I've done personal readings for, and then as I pull out the month's readings, I'm like, I have a feeling this is for so-and-so. And, you know, so definitely tune into your energy, guys. It's a great way to help me out, to help you out. All right, guys. I hope May is a beautiful month for you. I love you so much. I'll be back for some sort of mid-month or probably an eclipse pick-a-card reading of some sort. And then I will see you again in June, guys. Take care. Lots of love. Bye.